Rasta Jeff, you bad motherfucker.
Oh shit, Rasta Jeff in the house.
Greetings from Podcastville. This episode of the Grow From Your Heart podcast is brought to you by our friends at SeedsHereNow.com. SeedsHereNow.com offers seeds from all of the industry's leading breeders, including Miss Jill Genetics, Ethos Genetics, and of course, Irie Genetics. Everything at SeedsHereNow.com is backed by their award-winning satisfaction guarantee. And for my friends on a tight budget, SeedsHereNow.com offers several packs for under $30, as well as amazing monthly sales. Make sure to use coupon code GFYH10 while checking out to save a few bucks. Again, that is coupon code GFYH10 while checking out at SeedsHereNow.com. Yeah, welcome back, podcast world. I'm your host. My friends call me Rasta Jeff, and this is episode 620 of the Grow From Your Heart podcast. In this episode, I'm going to answer a couple of grow questions. Before we get there, let's do a few shout-outs to a few members of the 710 Club. Of course, the 710 Club are my friends who support us on Patreon at the $7.10 a month level or higher. So with no further ado, let's start off with the big Grow From Your Heart podcast thank you shout-out to my friend Sweet James Jones. Let's send a thank you shout-out to Rico Relaxo. Let's send a special thank you shout-out to my buddy Mobius Grows. Let's send a big fist bump and a thank you shout-out to Chris B. and Tartan Mike. Let's send a big thank you shout-out to Grant M. and Black Hippie. Let's send a big thank you shout-out to my friend Levity Loveday. Let's send a big thank you shout-out to Thomas M. and Mister. Let's send a big thank you shout-out to Green Vet. And let's wrap it up with the big Grow From Your Heart podcast thank you shout-out to my friend Redbeard. Big thank you and big shout out to everybody who continues to support the show on Patreon. If you are not already supporting the show and you would like to learn how to do so, all you have to do is visit www.patreon.com/growfromyourheart. All of the information you need will be right there on the screen. And of course, I did include a link in the show notes and in the video description to make everything nice and easy for all of my friends. All right, thanks for joining me, everybody. Thanks for those Patreon contributions. I do owe you an apology. If you watched the latest YouTube video, you may have noticed that that video was super grainy and not top quality. I apologize for that. I pride myself on putting out a top quality product. That video was not top quality. Mike and I, thanks to Mike for joining me, Mike and I recorded via Zoom. Everything looked beautiful on the computer screen. Everything sounded great. When I went to process the video and do the editing, it wasn't great. I did not want to can it. I didn't want to throw that episode away. I wanted to make sure you guys got to hear what Mike and I had to say, mainly what Mike had to say in that episode. Wanted to make sure that got put out. I did my best to clean it up, edit that a little bit, put that show out. But I know that was not up to Rasta Jeff standards. That was not Grow From Your Heart podcast standards. I apologize. Things will be better in the future. I'll do my best to not make that happen. I think I have found the solution. I found a way to mitigate that problem. You guys don't care what the solution is. I almost rambled on about that, but I have found a way to record 3 different video options and 3 different audio options. I'll do my best to piece those 3 recordings together. That's 6 different recordings to make a top shelf podcast out of. I've got a backup plan for next time. I apologize that I failed you on the last episode. If you listened to the audio, you probably loved it. You didn't notice that it was a Zoom meeting that looked like shit. There were a couple of moments where it did kind of get staticky, but I'm rambling about an apology. You guys, I apologize. That episode was not up to par, not up to my standards. I'll up my game. We'll get the stuff going properly in the future. But thank you for putting up with that. I do appreciate it. I did talk about the edibles episode. If you watched that last episode, I told you I was going to recap the edibles episode of the Embracing Organics podcast. Let's talk about Embracing Organics for a brief moment. Embracing Organics is a podcast or a YouTube show it happens live on YouTube every Thursday. It happens at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm in the Mountain Time Zone. I don't know where you are. I know my time zone. I know what time it is for me. You're going to have to translate. Use Google. It'll help you out. But Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time for about 2 hours. Honestly, it's about 7:10, 7:15 because we like to take a few dabs and hang out. But a little after 7 until about a little after 9, we hang out on YouTube and we talk about growing organically. We talk about growing. We talk about all kinds of random chaotic stuff. On one episode of the Embracing Organics show recently, we did eat a bunch of edibles. I myself ate a 250 milligram dose of edibles, and we hung out and we tried to have a show. That was a good show. Let's recap that now. By the way, I didn't mention that if you do miss the live show of Embracing Organics, you can always catch the replay. The show stays up on YouTube. Once it's over, we repost it up to YouTube. It does stay. You can watch it basically forever. So search right now, Embracing Organics. Give them a subscribe. Let them know Rasta Jeff sent you. Anyway, let's talk about the Edibles Challenge episode that I participated in on Embracing Organics with my friends. We all acquired the same edibles, the same amount of edibles. Some of us ate all 250 right at the start of the show. Some of us kind of dosed ourselves slowly throughout the show. Some people didn't choose to eat all of the dosage. As I watched a few people just throw it all into their mouths at the start of the show, my plan was to eat 50 now, 50 later, see how it goes, maybe eat 50 more. A couple people threw all 250 in their mouths, and I thought, I don't want to be late to the party, so I just ate all 250 right there at the beginning. I took a couple of monstrous dabs. After I ate the 250, I was like, I'm not super high. Then I took a dab that put me on another planet, and from there, I needed a seatbelt for my office chair because I felt like I was going to float away. I was super high, so I ate the 250 milligrams of edibles. I survived the show. I had a good time. I hung out in the after show. If you're part of the Embracing Organics live crew chat, part of their Patreon, we hang out with you after on Patreon. You're invited to come hang out. We give you a link. You can join the show. We let you hang out and join the video, and we chat. I did a good job hanging out with those folks after. But as soon as I signed out, I ate everything in the refrigerator. I ate everything in the cupboards, and then I slept on the couch until I had to wake up and pee. Then I went back to sleep. And it was a blurry night. The next morning I woke up doing damn, did I eat all of the food? And yes, I did. I ate all of the food, drank all of the drinks, consumed everything in the house, smoked all of the concentrates also. The funny part was watching a few of my friends try to manage themselves. One of our friends, I may not say everybody's names. I don't know that they want to be called out. I don't need to embarrass our friends. One of our friends north of the border had to check out early. He was twisted. He was done. He was roasted. He was cooked. He was barbecued. It was over for him. We've got a Jamaican friend. Shout out to my Jamaican friend, Rastafari. He looked like a statue. It looked like Weekend at Bernie's at his house. He was laid out he was just one. If he didn't have such bad cotton mouth, he would have been drooling on himself, I do believe. Tanasi handled himself quite well. Dirtman Dan didn't seem to be very effective. Watching Keith try to handle, I said I wasn't going to say their names, but fuck it, we're saying their names. You're going to watch the show. Keith was going to stop at a certain amount of edibles. He was already plenty intoxicated. You could see it on his face. His mouth wasn't moving. He would say words, but his mouth wasn't making the right shape for those words. It's kind of funny to watch him, and he's kind of pale too. He said if he got so many likes on the video that he would eat more edibles. And basically, he said if he got 150, he would eat the 150. And if we got 200 likes on the video, he would eat 200. I may be a smartass and maybe not the best friend on the planet sometimes. I used my social media prowess and I posted to Facebook saying, hey, we're on this live video. And if you post enough likes, my buddy will eat more edibles. Please come give us more likes. And guess what? My Facebook friends came through. Shout out to you guys for coming through. And Keith ate way too many edibles that night. I think we had a good time. Overall, we got to see who could handle the edibles. Nobody, honestly, was wrecked in a dangerous position. I said that our Canadian friend checked out early because he was twisted. It was okay. He did the same thing I did. He ate way too much food and went to bed. He's still Canadian. He still talks funny. He's still killing it at life. Just took a few hours to get him out of that weed coma. So we all handled it pretty well. It was a good show. Once again, I encourage you to check out the Embracing Organics Edibles Challenge. Just search for Embracing Organics. You will find it. It's a good time. Where am I going from there? I got my medical marijuana card renewed. What? That's right. During COVID times, we are still getting our medical marijuana cards renewed. It's hard to get appointments. It's hard to do a lot of things in person. I got an email from my cannabis doctor that said, hey, it's time to renew. Would you like to do it over the phone? And I said, sure. And they said, make an appointment on this app. So I clicked on a thing and it said, here are your times. And I picked a time. It said, be ready 10 minutes ahead of time to fill out a paper. I got a text message 10 minutes ahead of time. I filled out that paper. I hit send. After I hit send, I got a phone call. It was the weed doctor. It said, hey, why do you need medical marijuana? And I explained why. And they said, have you had medical marijuana before? And I said, this is like my 14th or 15th year of renewing my card. They giggled and they said, cool, your paperwork is pushed through. Give me your credit card number. I paid them for my medical marijuana card, filled out a couple of papers on the state. If the state didn't have a small snafu with my paperwork, it would have taken a total of 2 hours to get my medical marijuana card renewed. I didn't have to leave the house, didn't have to put on pants. Like I said, there was a small technical mistake, not a big deal. Something was spelled wrong. And so it was just a technical, the other people, the service I used, spelled my name wrong. My name is spelled wrong. Technically, they spelled it correctly, but it's not the way my full name is spelled, if that made any sense to you. But other than the quick snafu, it would have taken me a total of maybe 2 hours to get my weed card renewed, which is remarkable. Back in the day, we would make appointments and you would go to the weed doctor and you would realize that they just said, sure, come at 11. And they told everybody that called to come at 11 or whatever time they felt was good. They just said, come then. There were no appointments. We would stand in line all day. Sometimes you'd get there at 9 in the morning. You'd get to see the doc at 5 and they would sign your paperwork that day and send you on your way. It used to cost somewhere between $300 and $500 to see the doctor. This time it was $80. It used to cost $120 to register with the state. This time it was $25. It's getting much cheaper. The whole appointment, everything was $105. It took me less than 2 hours. Didn't have to leave the house. Technically didn't have to put on pants. I did wear pants just to make you feel better. But that was quick. That was easy. So I'm good for a solid year. Got my medical marijuana card. Really comfortable. It was a really pain-free, fucking flawless process. They call you and ask you a few questions. Then they ask you if you're crazy, basically. Do you have any mental conditions that would start? Are you suicidal? Do you want to hurt yourself or anybody else? Are you pregnant? Weird shit like that. And if most of the time you know how to answer the questions, it's so much easier over the phone. And then when I told her it was my 14th year or 15th year of renewing my card, she just started typing. She's like, we don't need to ask all these questions. We're just going to go ahead and I think you're ready to go. And she gave me my card. So got the new weed card. Everything is good to go. Got my plant count taken care of. I do not opt for the increased plant counts because in Colorado, we're limited to 12 plants anyway. If I were going to have a dispensary or something grow my plants, I may go for the extra plants, but I don't pay extra for the extended plant count. It doesn't make any sense. It's pointless for me. So I've just got the regular plant count. Going to crush it with that. It's fine for me. It does what I need to do. I got a small grow space anyway. I've made those numbers work for the past couple of years, so didn't need to increase. It was amazing how easy it would have been just to pay for the extended plant count. It's just basically money, allegedly. I'm not sure. Anyway, that was the weed card doctor. The next thing I want to talk about is congratulations to my friends at Cannabuzz. That's right. I talk about Cannabuzz all the time. I'll do it quickly right now. Cannabuzz is a social media application. It's a lot like, excuse me, I'm just going to clear my throat real hard. We'll keep going. Sorry, I did take a bunch of fat dabs before the show, so I do have that dab throat happening. I'm sure you were as tired of it as I was. Anyway, Cannabuzz, it's a social media application. You can't buy, trade, or sell cannabis on there, but you can post all of your cannabis photography, dab videos, garden shots, all the stuff that the other social media applications will take down and ban you for. Bring that shit to Cannabuzz. We want to see your weed pics. Don't bring your booty pics. Don't bring your booby shots. We don't need that there. I mean, be cute, but don't overdo it. You know, that's all. There's plenty of that on IG. We want the cannabis community. Come post your weed pics. Anyway, on Cannabuzz, there was some controversy with the word Cannabuzz. Another company was claiming that they had a copyright on the word buzz, and Cannabuzz couldn't use Cannabuzz. They had to hire a lawyer. Not to toot my own horn, I did my best to help with the contributions for the lawyer. We got the lawyer covered. A few other people helped as well. There were auctions, there were raffles and things like that helped cover the cost of the lawyer. I can't say I did it. I did my best to help, and also a lot of Cannabuzz family, Irie Army, Grow From Your Heart gang. We all helped out a lot. You helped out a lot, so thank you. But had to get a lawyer, had to fight a copyright lawsuit, and congratulations to Cannabuzz because they won the motherfucking lawsuit. Shout out to my friends at Cannabuzz. They own the name Cannabuzz. Nobody can take it from them. The trademark lawsuit is over. They're keeping it. Good work, you guys. I'm happy for you. They don't have to change the name of the app, which would have been a total pain in the ass. Don't have to change branding. So you guys catch a buzz. Join us over on, I probably don't even know that Catch a Buzz is something I can say. That's probably somebody else's. If not, Q, go copyright that shit. Catch a Buzz. Join the community at Cannabuzz. I'm on Cannabuzz a lot. I've got nearly 60,000 Cannabuzz followers. Thank you guys. I do a lot of shit on Cannabuzz. Post a lot. Do a lot of interaction there. Join me. I invite you. Cannabuzz. It's free. I am Irie_genetics. I wanted to say congrats to my friends because that has been an uphill battle, and I'm glad it's finally over for you. Next, I want to give a special shout out to a friend of mine. He's a business partner, but more importantly, he's a friend of mine. More importantly, he is a good fucking person. I want to give a shout out to my friend James Bean from Seeds Here Now. This is not advertising. This is not a plug for Seeds Here Now, but do make sure to check out seedsherenow.com and use coupon code GFYH10. But the important part here is that we acknowledge an outstanding person, an excellent member of the cannabis community, and my friend James Bean. I'm not kissing his ass or doing anything like that. I did an episode talking about a person who was leaving their partner behind because their morals, their ideas, and their grow room ethics changed. And our viewer, our friend, wanted some advice and some guidance, basically some reassurance and some affirmation that they were doing the right thing. I talked about that person and gave them some guidance on the podcast. My friend, my business partner, James Bean, sent me a message and said, hey, that person is an awesome person, and I would like to give them a reward. So, James Bean, that is admirable of you. That's you deserve a big high five, a salute, a shout out. You've got my respect. You already had my respect, but I want to make it known to the community how good of a person you are. You run a solid business. You talk a solid game. You're amazing on podcasts, but people may not know the truth that deep down inside, you're a good fucking dude, and I've got your back because you've always got my back and you've got the community's back. Wanted to take a moment. Shout out James Bean from Seeds Here Now. Also, if you're the person that sent me that message, check your email or send me another email because we would like to help you out for being such a good person. Shout out, bro. Let's keep moving. I wanted to make sure to acknowledge my friend James Bean. Dude, I do appreciate you. The community does appreciate you. Thank you. Now, this is the part of the show where we are going to read the listener emails. I've got cotton mouth so bad, you guys. I took so many fat dabs right before the show. I'm going to take a sip of this kombucha, recompose myself, and then we're going to read the listener emails here. Let's take a drink. Sip something with me. Hydrate, you guys. Hashtag sips tea. All right. Not editing that out. I'm human. Thank you for joining me. Now, here is the first email on this show. This one is titled Shout Out Question. It came from, actually, I just grabbed this from YouTube. Somebody said, I joined the Patreon approximately 2 weeks ago, and I still have not gotten a shout out. My friend Crazy Hand replied, this was a YouTube comment. Crazy Hand replied to the comment. It says, I feel he does it randomly. I have never heard mine on a shout out part, and then he mentioned it, and then he did me a solid and gave me a special shout out. And then he said, my RNG is always bad. I can't remember what RNG stands for, but so mainly the question here is, somebody said they signed up for Patreon approximately 2 weeks ago. I still haven't given them a shout out. There are a couple of reasons for that. It's nothing personal. I think this person actually did get their shout out shortly after this comment was posted. Let me explain why if you contribute to Patreon, sometimes it does take me a minute to give you a shout out. I am recorded one solid week ahead. I do 2 shows a week. I try to record both of them. So if the show that comes out Tuesday was recorded last Tuesday, basically, or the show that comes out Thursday was recorded the Tuesday before. So I'm several days ahead just in case something goes wrong. I don't want to have to get on the mic and record a show Thursday, edit it, post it, hope it comes out on YouTube on time on Thursday. I'm ahead of myself. So we got to wait for the episodes to come out in the order which they come out. And with the COVID times, with fucking life the way that it is, I try to be at least 1 or 2 episodes ahead so that if something does go wrong in my life, I've got 1 or 2 loaded up in the can is what we say. I've got a couple loaded up that I can launch. If something's wrong with me, if something's wrong with my gear, if my internet's down, I've got a backup plan. So you send me the message on the 1st saying, hey, I'm a patron. I want the shout out. I write it down on the 1st. Maybe I'll record on the 3rd or 4th. Then that won't come out till the 7th maybe. And then maybe I recorded 2 episodes. Maybe you're the 2nd episode that month that I record. You're not going to get your shout out till the 10th. Maybe you're the 3rd. You're looking at the 13th of the month now. So it's just about the 1st of the month. I write down the shout outs and then I record them through the month. And it may just take a minute. I do get to them. Also, I'm getting, I don't want to complain. I'm getting an overwhelming amount of shout outs and overwhelming amount of contributions and response. I love it. I can't keep up. I used to do 10 shout outs at the top of every episode. If you pay attention now, sometimes it's 12. Sometimes I extend it to 13 if the names are short and I can sneak it in. So it went from 10 shout outs every episode to 12 or 13. I may, and I can't make you a promise because my time is limited, I may have to step it up and do a 3rd episode just to get the Patreon shout outs in every month, which If I can find another one more evening to record, I would love to give you a third episode. And if I can get the content, if you guys can send me more questions and shit, I would love to get that third episode out. I would make the adjustments, but that may be what has to happen. So the main issue is that I get the Patreon notice on the first of the month, and then I put out 8 episodes every month. You may get your shout out on that 8th episode. And I just go down the list, honestly. I just pick the 710 Club and I just start writing their names. I actually type them into the computer and I just read them as they come up. So sometimes people get snuck in there if there's a special circumstance, like if it's your birthday or if you just contributed to Patreon today and you're brand new, maybe I'll put you on there. But for the most part, they're random. I get the notifications on the first. I try to get them all done by the end of the month. If not, I continue them through the next month. It used to be 10. Excuse me. It used to be 10. Now it's 12 or 13. I may have to do that third episode. I'm trying to adjust my schedule for that third episode. You guys, podcasting isn't as easy as it looks. I gotta write the show. It has to come from somewhere. I've talked about this before. We're not going to ramble too much. I got editing to do afterward. Then it takes a long time for YouTube to post it as well. So, be patient. And if that's the same with the questions, if you've sent me your questions on Patreon on the first and I haven't read it by the second, please be patient. It may take me a few weeks to get to you. I'm recorded ahead at least 2 episodes, and I've got questions lined up for at least 4 or 5 episodes already. I'm written ahead, recorded ahead. Please be patient. I do respect your questions, your time. I appreciate you. I don't want you to stop. Keep in mind, there are a lot of you and there's only one of me. This is a one-man podcast. There's nobody behind the scenes here. I am the writer, editor, director, producer. I do all of this stuff. So please be patient with me, but don't stop. I like the pressure. I do. No pressure, no diamonds. If you don't keep me going, I get lazy. Idle hands are the devil's playground. So you guys, please keep me overloaded. It inspires me. So don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm fucking high and rambly, but let's keep it on track. I've got another great question. This one came from Patreon. It came from Jackie Daytona, and it said, no, actually, this one came from YouTube. It came from Jackie Daytona on YouTube, and it said, "Hey, Jeff, thanks again for the great info. I had a thought when you were explaining nanners. In a previous episode, I talked about nanners, hermaphroditic male flowers in female plants. That's what I was calling nanners. It says, people love visuals. I love visuals too, but I think you have something different in mind in this question here. I think you mean visual aids. It says, and sometimes a pop-up photo can show a good example of what you're talking about. I've been putting in photos right about here, somewhere here in this region in the video. I've been learning a lot more with my editing equipment. I've got a couple of other ideas that may happen here in the future to give you some more visual aids. But it says nanners, herms, male, female parts, etc. People obviously can just Google it. However, it could really add a new dynamic to your already great podcast. Thank you for sharing your generous knowledge. Man, Jackie Daytona, thank you. I do appreciate that great comment. That is a good idea. That is great feedback. I love constructive criticism, positive or negative feedback, as long as they're done politely or both taken well. This is a great idea. You're very, very accurate and very correct. I should have posted a picture of a plant with a nanner right here. That was a missed opportunity. Good job on catching that. So now's a good time to catch up. Never too late, right? Now's a good time. Better late than never is what I think my brain is trying to say. So at this point, I'm going to pop up a couple of photos here on the screen, and we're going to talk once again about nanners. If you listen to the episode about nanners, here is a great visual representation of nanners. What I'm going to show you is a female cannabis plant that is late into flower. This is a very well-developed flower, and you will see that in the very center of this flower, there are 2 yellow things that just don't look right popping out of the center of the bud. I'm going to put the picture right here on the screen, and right here in the center, I'll try to circle it or something. I need to learn the software, so I can't promise you what's going to happen, but I'll do something to indicate right here. This part that I'm showing is what I'm calling the nanner. You'll see why we call that the banana. That is a female plant. It's got buds on it. It's got trichomes. We can see the female pistils is what you may want to call them. We can see the female, clearly see that it's a female, but we see a couple of male parts in the middle of that plant. Those are nanners. That is what we call an intersex plant. That is what we call a hermaphrodite plant. That is hermaphroditic. Sometimes those nanners contain pollen, and that pollen can pollinate your room. Now, this plant is way too far beyond pollination point for that to be an issue, but if you've got younger plants in the room, that plant could receive the pollen. So that is what we call a nanner. that could or could not contain pollen. Sometimes they have pollen. Sometimes they do not have pollen. Sometimes they have pollen that is non-viable. So that's what a nanner looks like. I'm going to scroll through my iPad here and find another picture and explain this one. Once again, this one, the thing that looks like a tongue sticking out of the bud, it looks like a yellow tongue, that is a nanner. That is a male flower sticking out of a female plant. Once again, we have got a hermaphrodite, an intersex plant. So this plant, the past two shots that I showed you, there would be a decision to make. If there's no pollen coming out of those nanners, if you're running one crop on one cycle that has no chance of getting pollinated, you may keep that plant around. A couple of late nanners in late flower may not be detrimental to the grow. If it happens early, that's when I get rid of them for sure. If it happens in week 1 or week 2, it's gone. Week 3, it's gone. Week 4, 5, and 6, I'd probably get rid of it. Week 8, I would consider keeping that bad dog because the flowers are so far into bloom, they're so far into ripeness, the female parts which would receive that pollen are so recessed and dried up that that plant won't receive pollen. It will not pollinate. It will not make seeds. So this plant with this tongue-looking male pollen sac sticking out, if that is the fire, if that's really good cannabis and it only makes 1 or 2 of those on the entire plant, I may consider keeping that. But that is a clear picture of a nanner. Very good shot. I'm going to call this one a tongue. We got a new word for it. It looks like a tongue in my opinion. I'm going to scroll through my iPad and see what my next photo is. The next photo, which I'm going to show you, is a very clear shot of a cannabis plant with male and female sex parts clearly displayed in one single bud set of this plant. This is a lower bud. We can see the female parts. This little hair that we see coming off here, a lot of people call it the hairs. A lot of people are going to call it pistils. Those are stigmas or pistils. I may have said stamens a moment ago. That's the wrong word. I shouldn't have said stamen. I don't know why I said stamen talking about the female plants. Stigmas and pistils is what those are called. The little hairy parts here. This other part that's opened up that looks like a seashell that opened or a flower that bloomed, that is a male cannabis flower. That part that opened up, the pollen was in there. That may have contained pollen that is now all over the garden. That part is actually the stamen. That part there is the stamen. It popped open. It may have shot pollen all over. The plants next to this, the female parts, the pistils, and the stigmas may have been pollinated. So this is a plant with clear intersex traits. We can see a male flower, a male pollen sac, which has been opened, and we can see the female stigmas or pistils. So that is a very good shot to show you a male and a female. Now I'm going to scroll through my iPad and see what I've got next. The next photo is another shot of a male and a female flower on the same plant. They're early into flower. This is a great way to show you what a male flower is going to look like. So we've got a guy who is holding a small part of a plant to indicate what we're looking at. This part here that looks like a pod, it is seed-shaped, it's bean-shaped. That is a male flower, and that thing is a day or two away from opening up and pollinating the rest of the grow. That thing's big and beefy, it's swollen, it's going to come out just a little more and protrude, then it will point down, then it will open up and pollen will come out of that pollen sac. That is a very clear male pollen sac. However, further up the plant, the little bud that we see here, it's got those female parts, the things you guys like to call hairs, those stigmas and pistils that are sticking off there. That is a clear female part. And then you can see, I can see swollen calyxes or swollen bracts, which I will assume are seeded already or are developing seeds or will develop seeds. So that is a very clear shot of a hermaphroditic plant, a male-female intersex plant. All right, I think I've made it clear what male, this part right here, that is a male plant. That part, not a male plant, that is a male part. If your plants show that, it is probably a male. If it's got these hairy parts up here, that's what we're looking for in a female. I'll try to post a solid picture of a male. That's a boy. Now I'll post a solid picture of a female. That's a female. And now you've seen what the intersex plants look like. Now I've made it clear what nanners look like, what males look like, what females look like, what intersex plants look like. That should help you out quite a bit. One thing that you should not get paranoid about are swollen bracts or swollen calyxes. When you're looking at a cannabis plant, the parts that develop are calyxes and bracts. They keep growing. Sometimes those look like they're swollen and they look like they are male parts. Those are not male parts. They will be at the bottom of the bud. So you'll have a little branch, and at the bottom of the bud, it'll start to look like popcorn. It'll have little balls. Those could be swollen bracts or calyxes. Don't overjudge. Don't get too paranoid. Don't get too excited and get too quick to cut down a plant that is showing you female parts because you think it may be a male. Verify and make sure that it's a male. At the intersections, at the nodes, is where you're most likely to see the first signs of male sex. If you're seeing those balls in the buds, that is probably a swollen calyx or a bract that is just swollen because it's developing the way it should. Don't be paranoid. Don't let your mind play tricks on you. And most importantly, don't cut down a female because you've mistaken it for a male plant. All right, I think that is all I've got. I want to thank everybody. On social media, I posted, hey guys, and gals, I need a photo of hermaphroditic plants, and I especially need a shot with some nanners in it. I want to thank all of my friends who sent me pictures of plants with nanners. I did withhold their names to protect the innocent. I don't want to say, hey, my buddy Jim has hermaphroditic plants in his garden. Here you go. I just felt it would be best to keep those names to myself, keep those people protected. I may also show at the end of the video, I may just pop up a few more pictures of intersex plants because I did get a lot. So I want to thank all of my friends who sent me all of the marvelous intersex plant pictures. I got so many. Some of them made me sick to my stomach. Some of them were exactly what I was looking for. Thank you. I thought it was great that I had to reach out and ask for pictures of intersex plants. Being a breeder, you'd think I'd have that, but guess what? I don't have that. Maybe I just didn't take enough pictures. We don't take pics of our fuck-ups, right? You only take pictures of the good stuff. All right, you guys, I'm going to quit rambling. I got nice and high before this episode, so I want to thank you for putting up with my rambles. I want to thank you for putting up with the throat clearing. Once again, I apologize for that last episode, but I want to thank you for listening to another successful episode of the Grow From Your Heart podcast. If you feel like this episode was educational, informative, or entertaining, maybe you learned something, maybe you had a couple of chuckles, maybe you just like to throw me $1 for my time, all you have to do is visit www.patreon.com/Grow From Your Heart. All of the information you need is right there on the screen. Once again, there is a link in the show notes and the video description to make it easy for all my friends. Big thanks to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. If you've got any questions, corrections, comments, or concerns, all you have to do is send me an email. The email address is growfromyourheart@hotmail.com. Make sure you check out my website at iriegenetics.com. All things Grow From Your Heart, all things Irie Genetics, all things Rasta Jeff are right there at iriegenetics.com. That is all I've got for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be back in a couple of days with fresh new content. I want to give a giant shout out to my friend Cascadian Grown. And until next time, take a fat dab and give your mama a hug for me.
Oh,